Hello, it's Jayska from Predominant Sticks YouTube channel, and I figured I'd do a video before it got too dark or too cold out here tonight. Today is still February the 15th of 2025, and it's slacked off for the meantime of raining, so I figured we would do a video out here to show you what it looks like before it gets nightfall and before the rain starts picking up again. So this is how high the water is up in my backyard right now. This is my backyard. And this is how high the water is up in here. It's really soggy, saturated out here in the yard and stuff. But it's slacked off raining anyways. It did a few minutes ago and it hasn't started back just yet. So, but someone said, and I don't know if it's true or not because I've not looked at the weather, it's kind of went down right here a little bit from where it was. But someone said that it's supposed to be raining the next few days. Pretty much, I think, is what they said. I don't know if it's true or not. Excuse me. But I think it's supposed to be raining on and off pretty much all day long the next 3 or 4 days. So we're liable to get a better, or a bigger, I should say, a bigger flood than what we had in July of 2022. If that's the truth, I don't know if it's continuous like raining like that or something. Excuse me. I probably got a cold or allergies or strep or something, who knows. It's probably just allergies. But anyways, this is what it looks like over the pond with all the water and stuff. You can see the line of the pond. It's came up way past that. It's almost to this little bush here, but it's went down a little bit since it stopped raining about 10 minutes or so ago. You can see the waterfalls. I'll try to zoom in since it's not raining on some of them. That's one of the bigger ones there, and then that one over there is a little bit big, and then that one right there is probably the biggest one around me. It's over there. And you can see like the water line only lacks like about maybe 1.5 feet still to reach over the road right there. But they said, someone said that you can't get out, or I can't get out anyways. I'm stranded here on Black Bottom where I live at because the road down that direction, and I took y'all to it in a different video. But anyways, there's a waterfall down there too. It's kind of big. Excuse me, I keep burping and hiccuping. Anyways, the road down that way on Lower Black Bottom Road down the hill, there was a slippage off the mountainside of dirt and I guess trees and stuff. So they'll have to get that cleared up before they have school again anyways, for the children and stuff around here on Black Bottom or Blair Branch. And unless if they're expecting like the parents to like meet them at a location or something and bring their children out. But it's really foggy too, as you can tell, on the mountainside there. Really foggy hillside. The fog's starting to come in. But the bus won't be able to come across it because I couldn't come across it in that little small vehicle that I borrow. And then I don't have a side-by-side or nothing like that, so I can't get out in certain locations anyways. I don't have a side-by-side of my own. So, but this is how high, you can't even see it over here. It's next to this, all this right through here is pretty much like a flower bed. But it's like covered it, the pond water has gotten up and covered it and stuff. And it's over there, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's over top of that deck of the neighbor's pond and almost covered the boats that's next to it. If that was me and if I owned them boats, I'd be getting them boats up out of the water closer to my house because you might have to use them if it keeps raining like this to go in the boats in the water with. But whatever, I don't know about people, but whatever. And then I'm trying to zoom in to show you the waterfalls coming off the mountainside there. Try to go slow, see how big they are. And they go all the way up. That's a really steep hillside too. I used to climb it when I was a child. It's got a lot of cliffs in it and stuff you can fall over and get hurt really bad. Especially, it don't look like it, but on down further that way in that direction, it's actually steeper. But here's the water. As you can tell, it is so saturated, soaked here with the water and stuff. But that's how much it's came up, the water line and stuff around here. It's almost at this trampoline. Not quite, but if it keeps raining like it will be, it will be. And I'm sure a lot of the flooding that happened in 2022, in July of 2022, I'd say they'll have to redo a lot of that stuff, so that's like all wasted money. And back then, FEMA really didn't even help, like, which I wasn't affected that bad compared to some people, but they wasn't really helpful even back then, so you know they're not going to be helpful now. And then here's some more of the water. Just in the bad thing is about like the neighbors and stuff like that, their houses and stuff, where they're next to the hillside and they don't have a tree line. See, usually around here, most people that's kind of smart, they'll put like a tree line at least 50 to 100 feet up from their house if they're next to a hillside or a mountain. So in case if there's forest fires, or in case if there's like storms or flooding or whatever, it doesn't affect them. You know, but that's what happened back in July of 2022. Is that was their slippage right there of a big tree that came down, and it stayed in that yard for like over a year before they finally had it cut into pieces, but they really didn't move it after that. But anyways, I don't care. It's none of my business. I don't own that, and probably never will, and I don't want it anyway, so whatever. But anyways, here's where the waters came up here in the yard here next to my fire pit and stuff. And that's how it looks crossing the pond waters and stuff. And then I'll walk you out around to the front yard and everything and show you what it looks like before nightfall. You can see in my neighbor's yard that it's already starting to come up and sink in the ground. The waters is and everything. And I'll look at the temperature too before I get off of here. I'll do it right now while I'm remembering to do it. I have a bad memory sometimes. Short-term memory. Anyways, it's gotten a little bit warmer actually. We're almost at 50 some degrees outside. It's still cool though, I think. But there's the water in the ditch line, and there's the water in my neighbor's yard. It covered my neighbor's yard that back in July of 2022. And so, I mean, we still got a while to go for it to be equal to the flood of 2022, because whenever I was out here walking in it, it was probably about up to there on my legs, and I'm only like 5'4", 5'3", 5'4", somewhere around there. And it was up to there whenever I was walking around out in my yard, but their yard was covered. And I know it don't make much sense, but I know that the waters got high up enough back in July of 2022 that it was up underneath of this neighbor's house in the brown wooden house. There's my septic. I always have troubles out of my septic. All the flooding does is makes it worse. It does look like it has drained off a little bit where the neighbors up in that yard up there, in that second or third house up from here, it was covered their yard, and they was digging in the ditch line earlier. So I think that did help it out a little bit on this side. Well, I hadn't been over here since a while, since this morning actually. And as you can tell from off the creek, it's already covering the garden spot. Which now back in July of 2022, when that last flood happened here so bad, the waters was up. You can kind of see it's not up that far yet, so we still got a while to go. But if it rains throughout the night, I'd say it will happen, if not worse. I think the way it's looking and how fast it's coming up and stuff like that, because back in July, that flood, it didn't seem to me that it lasted, or it happened as fast as what it is now. Because to me, it seems like it's happened faster now than what it was back then, because back then we had rainy weather pretty much all spring long back in July of 2022, off and on. But in the month of July, we would also have rain, but it would slack off sometimes. And then it really wasn't but like one night, all night long. It was the night before that happened, that flood in July of 2022. That's whenever we got a downpour and rain, like for hours, almost all day and all night long that night before that happened. And so that's why it was so bad. But I don't know. I mean, I might be wrong, and I hope I am wrong, because I know that online, according to like social medias like Facebook and stuff, there's already been people that's been flooded out already again in the same spots that it was back in July 2022. So, but from this morning, this part was not covered or even coming up this far. And as you can tell, it's already covered. And like I said before in a different video, I am so glad whenever I first got money to get my house moved down here that I did not pick that spot right there, because that's what I was going to pick to move at my house down here at, somewhere around through there. And if I had done that back in the July flood of 2022, it would have been flooded out. And heck, if I had done it even in 2025, February 2025 right now, it still would have been flooded out. So I'm so glad I did not do that, even though I absolutely hate living here. Absolutely hate living here. And I never intended on living here all my life. And hopefully someday my prayers will be answered and I can move out of here. Or my YouTube channel will hopefully start taking off and I can afford to buy me and my daughters a place to live away from here. I mean, unfortunately, I have to be in eastern Kentucky, but I'll probably either move up towards like Jenkins or even like Pike County. Somewhere within the Pike County, Letcher County line is where I plan on moving to if I ever have the money to move, hopefully someday soon. But anyways, if it's God's will or whatever. But I'm so glad I did not choose to put my house and have my house moved over there, because I wouldn't have got nothing out of it, and then I would have just been homeless, because I cannot stand my family, and I could not live with them. So there wouldn't have been no option for me or my children if that had happened. But as you can tell, it's already getting murky looking floodwaters here in the bottom across from my house, and it's coming over here across to this garden spot that belongs to my dad and my uncle, and then the rest of the neighbors up that direction, up towards that mountain. But it seems like it's happening pretty quickly this time, a lot faster. I don't know though, it could have been because most of the stuff that happened back in the July flood of 2022 did happen, most of the downpouring happened in later hours, like through the night, like around, I don't know for sure, but I know it was dark. I know it was like probably like 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning or so was whenever I think the worst part of the downpouring rains happened back in July 2022. But I don't know, that might be the difference. But the rain is still happening every now and then. We've just had a break now for about 20 minutes or so, or maybe 30 minutes or so. But it's already covering the bottom. But yeah, whenever that flood happened back in July of 2022, there's the railroad tracks. And then the water was up to this little hill section. I'll put my foot at it where there's a railroad tie. And so that's only really like about, as you can kind of see there by the railroad tracks thing, hopefully, it was like right here. So that's only like maybe 4 feet away from the actual railroad tracks back in July of 2022, whenever that happened. So we still got a while of ways to go, but to me it seems like if it keeps on pouring the rain and stuff, and it seems like it's happening faster to me, so I don't know. We might get a bigger or worse flood than what we had back in July of 2022. But I know someone told me that down here on Black Bottom Road, on lower Black Bottom Road, up that hill, I know there's a slippage that came off the mountain already. And so I can't cross that hill down that way to get out. And then up here at Blair Branch, where they built the new Blair Branch Bridge, and I told you all the wrong date in a different video, they had got that bridge finished up there at Blair Branch Church House, repaired it since the flood of July 2022. They got that done back in around August or September of 2024. So they just recently got that bridge work repaired and done, put the new bridge in. But anyways, they say that I don't think it's blocked off up there yet at the Blair Branch Bridge, but up there in the highway there is water in the road. And then also, as you're going up to Isom from Blair Branch up there, they said that there's water all across the road, and I guess they won't let people by it. I don't know for sure, but that's what someone said, that road was blocked off, so I guess that's what that means. So you can't get out there, and that would have been the main place if I had wanted to get out. That's where I would have went to get out of this road at, would have been the Blair Branch way off the bridge. Now you can go up in the Blair Branch Holler up that way, but then I couldn't because I tried to drive up there earlier, and I could already tell I couldn't make it that far in that vehicle that I have to borrow to get up, and then you have to go up a big mountain, and there's probably big slippage on those mountains because those mountains roads up in those trails are not the main roads. So the people that I guess for the county or state, they don't care about the roads like up on those mountains like that as much as they would like mainly the highway roads or these little small roads like what I live on. They don't care about that or whatever, but they don't pay for like money to get them fixed, and they're in no hurries of getting them fixed or anything like that, you know. But I'll walk down here a little bit down this other direction. I'm not going to walk too far, but I'll walk down a little bit just to show you all that how much the water's gotten up so far before it gets too dark. And this will probably be my last video of me filming today because it's going to get dark fast and stuff. But you can see, I'll scroll in. There's that big waterfall next to my mom's trailer. And then down here, there's more of the water and stuff. You can see it's already taken over the bottom. It still has a while to go though and stuff, but to me it seems like it's happening pretty daggone fast compared to the July flood of 2022. And if I had put my house, because I had my house moved down here back in 2004 from where they built the new high school called Letcher County Central in Letcher County where I live at. But probably back then, and it was offered to me, this piece of land was offered to me back then, and it was an option for me to move my house down here. And if I had done that, I probably was going to sit my house like right in there. There's still a little bit of grass spot, but you can tell, especially back in that July flood of 2022, that would have been washed out completely. That house would have, because that house is not much anyways. It was a cobbled junk pile pretty much even when we got it, and we put a little bit of money, what money we had, into it, and it's not really been worked on ever since, and there was cracks and stuff like that when they moved it, so it would have been washed away. And even like I would have been stranded, completely stranded, and had to worry about getting flooded out over again, even if I had put my house over there, and because of the flood that's happening today on February 15th of 2025. So I'm glad and thankful that I did not do that, even though I hate living next to family, or so-called family, and I hate living in this area of Eastern Kentucky. I've always felt like that all my life, and I'll get to that in a different video, but I never wanted to live here all my life or nothing. It was just that I was pregnant at the time and a lot of other different factors or whatever, but I'll get into that in a separate video. I won't stress you all out and rant all the time while I'm sitting on this video or nothing. But as you can see, there's my other neighbors down here. And back in the July flood of 2022, this little white house with the black roof and stuff on it, it was already up past their windows on the inside of that house when that flood happened. And then there's like a little block building, you can't see it attached to that house, but it's 8 foot tall and it's black on the back side of it, and it was over that. So those people that was renting that house at the time, I don't think anybody lives in it now. I don't think they ever fixed it up or anything like that, but I think that they had to pretty much, like, it was above their waistlines and stuff when they was coming out of that house to get from safety back in July of 2022. So anyways, I walked down here a little bit. People cannot get past that hillside. I don't know what they might be able to, I don't know. I know I can't in that little vehicle that I'm borrowing off of someone. But I'll walk down here a little bit. I ain't gonna walk into it or nothing, but I'll walk up here just to show you. It is connected all the way down through there and stuff. The water is. And so people cannot get out or nothing. That's why you'll see them even on their side-by-sides coming back and stuff. I guess I'll walk down here a little bit just to show you all. I know a lot of people around here from where I live at, especially like my family members or whatever, so-called family members, which I'm not trying to like throw off on people, because I'm the same way. I haven't even filmed my entire body to you all on video myself yet, but a lot of people don't like to be filmed and stuff around here. But and so I can understand that a lot of people don't like to be filmed, especially on YouTube videos. So it is what it is, and I understand it, and I'll respect their privacy and stuff, and they probably don't even like their property and stuff to be filmed. So, but back in that July flood of 2022, you can see that little red building, that little garage thing. Water was coming across to that little garage thing back in the July flood of 2022 when that was happening. And so, and they had like, the people who was renting inside this little white house back at that time, they had like 3 or 4 vehicles that got completely destroyed because of the flooding and stuff that was going on back in the July flood of 2022. So, but yeah, to me, it seems like things is happening definitely a lot faster. And I don't know if you can see it or not on the video here, but you see how the water's kind of coming in that direction, and it's also kind of coming in that direction. Well, that's what makes a whirlpool. So when that gets up higher, that'll be like a whirlpool. And then it eventually, if it keeps on pouring the rain and stuff, it will come like it did back in the July flood of 2022. It will come over here and it will look like an ocean. And I'll show you on a different video if that happens, you know. But you can see people kind of across the highway there. I'll try to zoom in. People's taking it slow. And that's the highway where they're crossing and stuff over there. And then I'll try to zoom in here. These people, their double widened vehicles got destroyed back in the July 22 flood, and it looks like it's happening again. The creek's already up in their way or whatever. But I'm not going to go down too much further. I guess this is it, and I'm just going to turn around because you can't really see it because of all the brush and stuff. but it's already covered. The lower bottom is. Now it's completely covered. So like I was saying, if I had put a house over here, I wouldn't have had no way out at all. I would have been stranded. In my house, if I had put it over there, before I moved to where I chose the piece of property to where I live at now, up there in my house where it's at now, my house would have been completely gone. It would have been destroyed. If not our lives, my family's lives and my daughter's lives and I would have been gone if I had chose to put my house over there. So I'm thankful and grateful that I did not choose to do that. But at the time I was younger and I didn't have as many health problems as I do now. And like I was saying in a different video, your dreams do tend to change and stuff as you get older, or mine has anyways. I can't speak for nobody but myself, of course, but my dreams is not the same as what they were when I was a young girl or even a teenager or even like a young adult whenever I was getting married and stuff. So my goals and my dreams have changed over the years as I've gotten older and stuff with time and different incidents and stuff that's happened in life. But it is what it is, I guess. All us human beings can do while we're alive, and while us human beings, we have souls, and all we can do is pray about everything in life and just hope that the Creator answers our prayers. And that's all we can do while we're alive, while we're breathing. And that's all I try to do. I mean, one of the reasons, which I'll tell you about that in a different video, but one of the reasons why I did make a YouTube channel, obviously, is to try to get my life and my daughter's lives out of this situation and better our lives for us so we can move away from here. But I'll tell you about that in a different video on a different day. I'm just kind of showing you the flooding that's happening today right around here before it gets too dark to see and nightfall. But yeah, you can tell the water's already starting to come up faster. I think it is faster than what it did back in the July flood of 2022. To see how the creek is already up. I'll try to go slow so you can see how the water's already up and the creek and everything. It's already flooding out the bottom and stuff, you know. So that's my youngest daughter up there in the pink Hello Kitty night thing. But yeah, we might get something worse if it continues throughout the night, unless if it's done with all the rain. I don't know. According to what some person told me, they say we're supposed to get 3 or 4 more days of this rain. So, and then obviously back in the July flood of 2022, it was extremely humid and hot outside. It wasn't cold like it has been today and on recent days here in February of 2015 or 2025, my bad. But anyways, it's definitely cold. And then we had snow like about maybe like a week ago, I guess it was. It wasn't that long ago, so the ground was already wet and saturated from all that rain and snow we had not too long ago. So it was already wet, saturated and stuff, and there wasn't nowhere for the water and stuff to go to. So I don't know. But that's a view of what it looks like here on Black Bottom Road in Jeremiah, Kentucky, of the flooding situation that's going on. And yes, there is other places that's already on today's date, February the 15th of 2025, that's already gotten worse flooding than what we have. So I'm just grateful that my girls and I are safe and alive, and we haven't lost our house, because even though I hate that house and I hate living there, and that's never going to change no matter what, we would be homeless and we wouldn't have nowhere to go. Or I would be homeless and I wouldn't have nowhere to go. My girls would have somewhere to go. I'd make sure that, even if they have to stay with my enemies, so to speak, you know, I'm not letting my girls be homeless no matter what, underneath those circumstances. And there would be family members, especially on their dad's side, that would take them in, and their dad would take them in. But anyways, this is what the flooding looks like here on Black Bottom. This is the bottom that my parents own, and my uncle and some of the neighbors up the road, where they all put their gardens at in the spring and summertime of the year. This is what the garden spot looks like, and this is what the flooding looks like. So it's getting up pretty high pretty fast, I guess you could say. And I walk up here a little ways to see if it's went down or not in this other neighbor's yard, because their yard was covered earlier. But I think they were digging out a ditch to see if it would drain some. So it might have helped. And I hope it did, because their house would have got covered up in no time if they hadn't done that. And it would have been all underneath their floor and their underpinning of their house and all that good stuff. Or bad stuff, however you say it. But over there, across from there, that upper bottom, where there's like 5 or 6 families or more that all have land ties to that property up there around that curve right there where that brush is, and they have their garden spots. It's already completely over. It's already overwhelmed it and completely came over to the railroad tracks in that section. So you can see down there. Try to zoom in. Fog's starting to come in and it's starting to get darker. It's getting fog and dark fast. But it slacked off now for almost an hour of raining like it was, so maybe it won't. I know I seen online on a social media site called Facebook that one of the local news people, had said that back in the July flood of 2022, according to one of the sections that they measure for the water lines, it only had to be up to 12 feet. Well, according to this morning when they measured it and stuff, it was like at 8.5 feet. So that tells me it is happening faster by their measurements alone, faster than it did back in July of 2022. So I think back in July of 2022 too, that trailer there, it might have been a different trailer, but one of those trailers of the neighbors across the creek or whatever, their trailer, they was inside of it during that flood, and their trailer was completely spinning around. It didn't go nowhere and it didn't break apart, but it was spinning around and stuff while they were inside of it. And it does look like the waters went down over here in my neighbor's yard a little bit, because where they dug on that ditch line there. But before, it was all in their yard and stuff, as you can tell, and all around their yard and stuff. But anyways, this is what the flooding looks like, the flooding situation and stuff here on Black Bottom Road in Jeremiah, Kentucky, in Letcher County in eastern Kentucky. So today is February the 15th of 2025, and it started raining probably about 6 o'clock in the morning and came down, pretty steady. And then it's rained off and on all day long today. It's kind of sprinkling right now, but not really. It's kind of slacked off for the time being. And we haven't really gotten, for all this water right here, we really haven't gotten that much long time periods today of like downpour and rain. Maybe like an hour or two. It's not been that long, you know, so that tells you it doesn't take much, or that tells me anyways, it doesn't take that much for the flooding to start happening again. And I feel like personally, it's just my opinion, of course, but ever since the flood prevention stuff or whatever of July of 2022, and like them digging out ditches and doing all the cleanup, they really didn't do that. And so I guess this is the aftermath, what you get again from not doing stuff like that. And the only other times that I'm aware of or have knowledge of in my 43 years of living here in life, I don't think there has been. I think there was one other flood. Now, I wasn't alive, but I think there was a flood that happened back in the 50s, and they said it was worse than the flood that happened because that was in my dad's time period, and the railroad tracks was here. But they said that that flood that happened back in the 50s or 60s or whenever it was worse than the flood that happened back in the July of 2022, because according to him, I think the water was over here on this, or on the railroad tracks is what saves us. If the railroad tracks wouldn't be here, we'd all be washed out. So the railroad tracks is what saves the houses like on this side of the road for the most part. Now, if the water gets up high enough like it did back in July 2022, it will come down to that point and it'll start coming over. And all this water that's already here will just start getting higher and build up and start washing down here. Because it did come down here around my house. It surrounded my house, but didn't get inside of my house. Only on this one side, and it wasn't that high on the blocks, maybe like 2 feet high up. But anyways, in general, the railroad tracks is what saves all the houses on this side of Black Bottom Road. The railroad tracks is what saves these houses. And the higher up you are, it's not as bad. This is called Upper Black Bottom Road here. Past this hill down here on this side is called Lower Black Bottom Road. Now, I'd say that they're really getting scared down there because, and watching the water really good, because a lot of those people's houses that lived on past that hill down there on Lower Black Bottom Road in the July flood of 2022, they got washed out majorly. And I know there's a house right now for sale on Zillow on Lower Black Bottom Road, and it's listed for sale right now, and it's listed as is because it still has like all the damage from the flood. I don't know if it's FEMA who's selling it or the owners that used to own it, or different owners or what, but you can tell nothing's been done to it and stuff. So it's sold as is, but they're still wanting quite a bit for it, I think. Asking price for it to have that much flood damage. But anyways, back in the 1950s or 60s, whenever it was, like 50 some years ago or whatever, whenever they had the major flood before the July flood of 2022, back in my dad's time period when he lived here, because he grew up in this house right here, this brick and gray house, when he was growing up. Anyways, he said that like on the other side of this railroad tracks, right here, the water was coming up to right here back then. So that's pretty much right next to the railroad ties and the, you know, the wood that they put in to make the railroad tracks. So that had to be worse than what it was back in the July flood of 2022, because in that flood, it didn't really come up to about right there on that side of the railroad tracks because of the, it lacked about 3 or 4 feet to hitting the railroad tracks back then in the July 2022 flood. And then here on this other side, back in July 2022, now I think the water was up here. I might be wrong, but I think in that 1950s or 1960s flood or whatever, and that was supposedly a 100-year-old flood too, like they always say too. But anyways, I could be wrong. But I think the water was coming up to about probably maybe on this side of the railroad tracks. Now the side that most of the people's houses on, like where my house is and stuff, it was coming up to at least where that whistle blows on the railroad tracks for the train there. Train blows its whistle. But I think my dad was only like an 8 or 9-year-old little boy back then when that happened. So he don't really remember for sure, I'm sure. And his perception might be different when you're young as it is like when you're older. I know that's how it is for me, and that's how it is for most people. I'm gonna try not to fall as I go back down the railroad tracks here. But, and yeah, even after 2022, when that flood happened, people around here who study all that stuff, they said, oh, we won't have another flood for another 100 years or another 1,000-year flood or whatever. And that's bull crap. And according to the people who last did it after that July flood too, this is not even considered a flood zone property down here, like where I live at. But in my opinion, that's all bullshit. So, I don't know, it's just bullshit in my opinion. They don't know too much, in my opinion. They don't know too much more what they're talking about than what I have to say. That's just my opinion, though. But anyways, I guess I'll get off here because it's starting to get a little bit darker and a little bit colder. And I'll get off here and end this video, but this is what it looks like. I'll walk back out here one last time before, and I'm sorry for you all that have to hear me cuss and rant sometimes, but you know what, that's who I am. It is what it is. And anyways, and you don't have to watch my channel if you don't like it. If you don't like me, you don't have to watch my channel. If you want to troll me, go for it. I can troll back, so whatever, I don't care. So anyways, this is what the backyard looks like before I'm going to get off of here and stuff. This ground is just so soaking saturated with water and mud and stuff. But this is how high it's even went down a little bit while I've been talking to you all and doing this video. But this is how high the water is up before I go to bed tonight. This is the backyard where the ponds are. See the mountains there and the waterfalls coming off the hills. And that's how high the water is before I go to bed tonight. That's how high it got up. That's how high it is up in my yard. Now, if it gets real bad or it starts pouring the rain through the night, I might have to run this vehicle. There's really no place I can run it to other than our local church house, and that's what a lot of people did back in the July flood of 2022. They just kind of put it close to, they had to put it close to the railroad tracks up there near the church house because it was a little bit higher up anyways and stuff back then. But I don't know, we'll just have to wait and see. I don't know what's going to happen, but this is how high the water is up today on February 15th of 2025, and that's how high the water is up in the flooding that's going on here in Letcher County, Eastern Kentucky. Well, I'm going to get off here, and I appreciate each and every one of y'all who watch and take the time out to watch me, subscribe to me, and like and share, comment on my videos, and just spending your time with me. And I really do appreciate it. And I thank y'all, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching. Bye.